those of you that are new to Skyslope, if you've never logged in, you're going to want to go into Zone for the first time. And then, let's see if it's going to open. There we go. And then connect to Skyslope here on the left. That bridges the gap and opens the connection for your account. Otherwise, it won't work. And if you ever go like a month or two without going into Skyslope and then try to get in and can't, that's why you need to go back to Zone, go in the first time through Zone. And then after that, after you've done it once or twice, then you can, or just once, you just need to make that connection. Then you can go in directly from one login right there. Just FYI. Mine looks different than yours a little bit because I can see everybody's transactions. You guys cannot. And in 2 more minutes, we'll get started. One more minute. And if you guys have questions along the way, this is just like, I'm going to kind of do a tutorial on how to do things, but this is for you. So ask questions, please stop along the way. Otherwise, this will be a really quick class. All right, let's get started. So on your main page of Skyslope, the first step is to go up in the top right corner if you haven't already done so, and make sure you go into My Account. You want to update, and again, mine's going to look a little different. You're going to want to make sure everything's connected and set up properly. If you, let's see, go to My Account, make sure the personal information is all right. It should be pulling from Zone is where that's coming from. But then when we go up in the top little squares there, the waffle, you're going to go to Forms, and you've got a second profile under Forms. So your name again, top right corner, user profile. It's really important that not only is your contact information in there, but your directories are correct. So go through and make sure your information is correct there. And then under associations, you need to add everything. So I have ABOR, Trek, and TAR. Make sure those are all in there. Otherwise, if you need to go find other contract addendums, amendments, all that kind of stuff, you know, like if all of a sudden you're doing farm and ranch or something, you may need something, or mineral rights. I don't think mineral rights is in our template. You want to be able to go get those. Our brokerage license number is 9007404. That is the contract number that's on your contract. That's the same number. So we're going to start today. Let me go back to the main screen. Yep. If you guys will, to help me, if you guys unmute, just ask questions, because I don't have two computers and I don't have anyone watching chat for me. It'll be easier if you guys just unmute and ask. But again, ask all the questions you need. So this is our home screen. Again, for those that just joined us, there's two profiles you want to make sure are correct. This first one in the top corner should be pulling from Zone. You're not going to be able to probably modify anything in that one, but make sure it's correct. And then when you go up into the waffle, people keep coming in. I don't know why I tried to start on time. Sorry, guys. Yeah, we've got a lot more coming in. All right, we're going to give another minute because I'm just going to have to repeat everything. So one thing I said early on is when you go into your one login, if you've never connected to Skyslope, you're going to need to go to the dashboard and connect to Skyslope this way. That will turn on your account in Skyslope. And then if you ever go a month or two without going into Skyslope, you're going to have to come back and go through and connect it this way again. If you just tried to go to Skyslope, or if you tried from the one login to go to Skyslope without connecting in Zone first, it won't work. You got to go to Zone and it pulls your credentials in Zone to create your account in Skyslope. And this is your home page. The top right, update that profile or make sure that profile is correct. Your account under here is pulling from Zone, so there's not much you can do about it. But if it's wrong, you could always email the help desk at ROG. It's helpdesk@realty1group.com and let them know something's wrong. But where we're going to go is into forms to begin with. So that waffle, I just went to the waffle here and went to forms. This is the other profile you need to make sure is correct. You've got your user information and then the associations. You want to make sure all your associations are pulled in. People keep coming in. That's right, we're going to keep going. So make sure you've got, your primary board association. And then Texas Realtors, add whatever you need. I belong to multiple boards so I could add other associations, but I don't need more. So we're not going to worry about that. We're going to go back to the main page on forms. So the way Skyslope works is the Skyslope piece, this home page piece. This is where you submit a file, a listing or a transaction to Tracy and I for compliance. But you need to come up with the paperwork for that file to begin with. So we're going to start where we would start in the beginning, which is over here on the form side. So again, the waffle, we're going to go to the forms. We're going to create a new file. And we're going to do a buyer to begin with. I would say right now, just watch and take notes. And then if you have specific questions, unmute yourself and ask questions along the way. But we're going to say this buyer is Fred Womack, and he's fred@fred.com. And I'm going to say he doesn't have an address yet. I'm going to name him after his name since we don't have an address. I'm going to scroll down here and you're going to see lots of templates. You may see less templates than I can see. The template issue is kind of a frustrating thing, but it is what it is. But you're looking for ROG Prosper templates. So we're going to say this is a buyer. I need my buyer template and I'm going to create it. And that's going to go throw in a bunch of docs that you may or may not need. Hopefully it's a lot of them you do need. Hopefully they look familiar. This isn't contracts class, so hopefully these look familiar. And you're just going to start working on your contracts. Let me get her in. Okay. So let's say we want to draw an offer. So I'm going to select the 1 to 4 family. It's going to populate it. And because I've said the buyer is Fred, it already put Fred in there. So now I'm going to add the seller, which is Lisa Lopez. And hit save. There goes Lisa's info. And now I'm going to fill it. Oh, y'all, my goodness. Okay, sorry, guys. Look at this. You are viewing an outdated version of this form. Update now. It's not true. That is the correct version of the form, but whatever. I hit update and then it updated it. So if you get that error, hit update, but we did have the right form on there. So I've added the seller's name. It knew the buyer because I named it and said, this is the buyer. And then I'm going to go through and fill out a contract like I normally would. Let's say I plug in a bunch of stuff and I want to send it to my client for signature. Actually, what I'd recommend you all do, well, remind me to tell you what I recommend you guys do in a minute, but we're going to prepare for signature. Let me finish one thought at a time. And this says, Fred Royalmack, who's your buyer, he needs to sign. And I'm going to say, yep, he's the only one signing this. And I'm going to hit next. And it's going to, because we've used a form it knew, then it will apply the appropriate initials and signatures. It knows how to do that. And if you scroll down, there's Fred Womack's initials, and it puts it all in the right places. And so I can hit send, and I can just send it, and that will go to him, and we're good to go. But let's say, I'm going to exit and say leave. Let's say I want to send multiple documents. So I'm going to go back to Fred. So what it's done right now is created an envelope, but I want to add more forms in there. So I'm going to go in and say, I need IABS. I need the 1 to 4. We're not, you guys are needing to do IABS and buyer rep initially, right? We're doing that separate from the contract, but you can select, multiple contracts to send off for signatures, fill and send. But let's say we wanted to, he's going to sign them in the office. So I can select and fill it out, and then I can download it as a PDF and print it, or I can just print from here, this is going to allow you to do whatever you need to do. But let's say I'm missing a form. Let's say in this particular circumstance, the template has third party, the common non-realty item, short, what one's that? Oh, other property, contingency, exit. This one, oh, HOA. So let's say though, we need, I don't know, some other weird form. Let's go get it. I can go up here. I want to make sure that all libraries is selected. And then let's say right to terminate. I want to add in the right to terminate. So here's our right to terminate. I can hit add. And then now it's put right back here in the queue to create the envelope. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions on that to start with? Or does anybody have any basic questions before I keep moving forward with you guys? Remember, this is like meant to be interactive. You guys are meant to be able to ask questions. Otherwise, it's gonna be a really quick class because there's not a whole lot. Like it'll make a lot more sense when you guys are forced to use it to do something. But the main thing right now is I just want to kind of do an overview of everything you need to do. But keep in mind at any point in time, you guys can unmute, ask questions. This is for you guys, not me. All right. So I would, if I were you, create a new file for a buyer. I would name it template. And then I'd scroll down and name it template. Oh, so I'd probably name it Carlin's template. I would then name it that way, go get the Prosper template, create it. I'm not going to put in any client info. It just made the buyer's name Carlin's template, but I'm going to delete that now. Oh, why are you trying to update the form? I need to fix that. But I would delete the name. I could delete. I should have, had I known no one was coming in, then I would have worked off my other computer, but that's okay. So then I want to use this. Let's see, I'd go back. I would mark third party because 9 times out of 10, all your offers are going to include a third party. I would probably do, let's go back. I would do 0. I would do 100. I would do NA. Down here, I'd do 7. Like I'd fill in the terms of an offer that I normally am going to ask for on a buyer contract, right? I'm trying to save myself time so that there's less I have to fill out when I'm writing an offer. I'd plug all this in. And let's say, yep, I'll always want my survey. You may want to make it a seller's expense to start with. Let them counter you. I want 7 days here. You get the idea, right? You're plugging in all the terms. Then you're going to go down to the agent page and put in, and by all the terms, I mean all the terms that you normally use. But just remember to change them if the situation arises. But it'll save you guys time if you have this all set up. Go down to the agent page. Now, for some reason, there's a glitch in the system. Oh, it worked right. Never mind. Ignore my glitch. It should auto-populate my information because it's a buyer over here on this side. If it populates some of your information over here, delete it, move it over here. It was doing that for a while and I don't know why. Over here, I would do 3% of, let me get you a percentage of sales price. And then I'm going to go, once I've plugged everything in to normal terms that I usually write an offer, right? I'm not talking about the one-off situations. In the one-off situations, you can change it. But in normal circumstances, this is the way I'm always going to write an offer. I plug all that in. I'm then going to go save it as a template. And now it's going to save under my personal template section. And then that way I have it. I don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. Does that make sense? It's there, plugged, ready to go. I would do the same thing with a listing and do a listing template. So if I go back to my forms, I can create a new file. And this time, if I say it's the seller and I plug in, it's going to populate down here, the ROG Prosper listing template. So I would do that and save it as a template. And again, on listing, do a 6% commission, 3% to the other agent, 2% to non-MLS, intermediary allowed, all those normal terms that 9 times out of 10, you're going to use on a listing. And then all you have to do is plug in the dates, the price, a couple other things, and that's it. And they sign their seller's info, and then you can sign it. It'll make life so much easier to have your own set of templates ready to go. Any questions on any of that before I go to the next step? You guys are way too quiet, which either tells me you have no idea what I'm talking about or I'm boring you.
Carlin,
Yes. Courtney, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I was just curious if I were to select, so I was trying to do this the other day, make my own template. Would I select the Prosper buyer template that has all the different forms and then go in and edit it and then save it?
Save as a template. So then once you save it as a template, see how it says personal templates? That's where it will be. That's what I just created.
I see how there's only one form there. Like, how do you select all of the?
Oh.
Like, can I up the Prosper buyer?
Yes. So it's because I only went into that one form and modified it. So whatever forms you want for the template, you would modify them all. And then
save as template.
Yep. Actually, so let me go back to this. So when I go here, I think I can just do it. No, it's only allowing one form at a time to be applied to the template. Well, that's stupid. Hold on, let me go back into templates. I can add forms. That's what you need to do. So you're going to start the template with one form and then go into the actual template and add the rest of them.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right. Did somebody else have a question?
me, Cheryl. Can you show an example of something that you've already had signed and initialed and everything, and then you need to go back and change it?
So you
Like
can't change it, right? I can
strike it out or something.
Well, I can modify it. Let me see. I can't remember if my guy signed electronically on this one or not. No, because I don't do much stuff in here. Let me figure out something that got done in here. Okay. So this is a seller's disclosure that they filled out and signed. Seller signed, right? I can then trying to think of the best way to have you do it. I'm just going to the file. No, not the people. Let's go into the form. There we go. So here's what they've completed and filled out. Oh,
Well, my form that I'm curious
Hold
about
on.
is the listing agreement, just to say.
let me go see. Hold on. Let me go. Because I don't use this very often, I don't know how many I have signed or what I have signed in here. Oh my gosh. Okay, here's the listing agreement. So what you would need to do once a form's been signed is download it as a PDF. Then you can go over here to the DigiSign section, which allows you to go modify. You're just going to do an envelope. Oh, stop. And I'm going to grab what I just downloaded, which was the listing agreement. And now I'm going to say my seller, and it'll go find them. But of course, I don't remember the name of that seller that I just was using, whatever. Test, 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 seller. So now I can go do whatever I need to, but remember, like, since this is already signed, whatever you change, you're going to need to do initials with it as well. Does that make sense? So I would do like writable. And X, what am I doing? Test. So this is who test is who's signing it. And I would X out, like, let's say I got the block number wrong. So I'm going to put it right over the D, and then I'm going to do a space, and then it's supposed to be block A, right? So there's that. Stop doing that. And then I need to go do initials and drag and make test. Or you don't have to drag on this. I keep forgetting that. I'm so used to DocuSign. I want test to initial that change. And then because this is a listing agreement, I'm going to initial it as well. So I should have added me as a signer, but I didn't. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Any other questions before I switch us over to the Skyslope other piece?
So just so I'm clear, that's if you are uploading a document and you need to fill in more stuff or make changes, like you said.
So you're working with like a PDF. So let's say you're the listing agent and the offer comes to you. You're not starting with a form, you're starting with a PDF. So then you would take the PDF in DigiSign to go do an envelope to have your seller sign it.
Okay, gotcha.
Or like if you were modifying an amendment that's already a PDF, then you may, upload that and do signatures. So DigiSign, it's like DocuSign basically, to just get initials and signatures on things.
Okay.
All right. So now we're going to switch gears and go to the main page. This is where you're going to say, hey, Carlin and Tracy, I have a new listing that needs review for compliance. Or Carlin and Tracy, I'm under contract and I need a DA. Please review all my documents. This is where you're going to do this. So if you're a dot loop lover or a zip forms lover or a, what's the other one? Transaction desk person, then you can go do what I just showed you in those platforms and send them over to us here and do this part separately if you want to. I think that's a waste of energy. Like once you force yourself to use Skyslope once or twice with the form side, it's really very easy. But it's your call, whatever. But the thing to keep in mind is technically, legally, per trek, you're supposed to get me as your broker all documents within 72 hours of getting signatures. We are not paying attention to that time frame. However, we need documents 2 weeks prior to closing, unless it's a cash quick close. If it's cash quick close, that's fine. We understand those weird circumstances. Just upload it and then email Tracy or I and say, I'm so sorry. This is a cash quick close. It's in there. I need a DA. If it's a listing, we're going to start with listings. You need to send the listing through with the listing checklist first. We approve it. And then you're going to say, I have an accepted contract. And now I'm going to convert it to a listing under contract checklist. And I'll show you what all that means in a second. But just understand listings are 2 steps. Buyers are just 1 step, or leases or referrals would just be 1 step. So let's start on the easy side and do like a buyer or a lease. So first thing it's going to do is say, hey, you have a buyer. Well, you have all these templates over on the other side. Is it one of these? Should I just apply all the files from one of those? And I'm going to say, yes, it's Fred. Fred was the one who I'm working with. So then it's going to populate whatever I had going on in Fred to as much of this field as possible. This field, you're not going to have the option to say the agent. It's just going to populate you. Because I can see all your files, it lets me pick from whatever agent, but it'll populate your name. It's going to ask a lot of setup questions because Skyslope has the ability for the broker to track all these different aspects of a file. We do not pay attention to all these different aspects. I'm going to tell you the main ones that I care about. The rest of them, you can just put an A or zeros. I don't care. So MLS is one of them. I don't care about the number. You can put a number. The address, we do have to have the address. So think of it, what do I care about? Anything that's going on the DA. So I need an address for the DA. I got to have that. Representation, I represent the buyer. The office is going to be automatic. You don't have an option to that. Sales price, what is on the DA? I need that sales price to be correct. Year built is not on a DA. I don't care about it. The source of the lead, we do not track this. I'd love for you guys to put it because it's cool to see, but I'm not paying attention to the source or the office lead when I create a DA. I'm going to show you what I pay attention to in a minute, but neither of those. So you can put the info, but we're not paying attention to it. Let's just say we went under contract today. We're closing at the end of April. Oh, checklist type. So because this is a buyer, I'm doing a buyer. If it were a listing, you would do a listing. But this is a buyer. Oh gosh, darn. All these little red dots. Somehow I lost my Austin. All right, now we're good. No, I did city of state. All the red dots. I'm trying to rush. I bet if I pick Alaska, it's going to screw it up. Oh, no. There we go. All right, let's see if we got it now. Okay, so now it's going to go to more information. It wants to know contact information for everybody involved. The seller, we obviously don't have that contact information because it's not our client. So we're just going to move on past that. And it says it's good to go. The buyer, here is where I do want, you've already put in an email because I sent him documents. But I do want a phone number here and an email for I do want valid contact information for your client. If you're on vacation on a cruise and I can't reach you, but title's calling me and they're saying, hey, I need to get a hold of this buyer, or the lender's calling, or somebody, like let's say it's a seller and the house is on fire and the neighbors called the sign and gotten a hold of me, right? I need to know how to get a hold of your client. So if you represent the client, I need their phone and email on here to be correct. Does that make sense? I know I just put zeros, but Fred doesn't exist. Then it's going to say whose title. If you want to put in their info, go for it. I am not looking here. I'm going to look on the contract, to be honest. But because there's red dots, it is required. So you can, go ahead and put in the right info. Don't put in the right info. Oh gosh. It needs to recognize an email, but it doesn't have to be accurate. The other agent, you can, again, same thing. I'm not looking at this, I'm gonna go pull the contract. Okay, once we have these green checks, I then can go and hit submit. What it does is it creates basically a transaction. Oh, well, it starts to create the transaction. You've got to do one more step and hit submit again. The gold open escrow is if you were using a Realty One Group title company. We don't have any in Texas, so that it shouldn't be gold for us, but it's gold for all Realty Ones. You're just going to hit submit. Oh, I'm making 3% on this. So because I put in the sales price, it's going to calculate the commission. We're going to talk about commission in a second. Once I hit submit, it's created all these additional tabs, including a checklist of documents that are required by you to submit to us to get your DA. But let's go back to the commission tab for a second. This is the only tab we look at when we create a DA. So the sales price needs to be accurate, which means your commission needs to be accurate. You know, if you're taking 2%, whatever it is, 2.5, plug it in and make sure that's the number you're expecting to get. If it's a flat fee for some reason, then you plug it in over here and then it'll pop up over here. If you have a gold lead, it's going there, or this is an op city, or I am paying home warranty of $875, or I'm rebating, anything that's going to affect financials, the DA, we need to know. So please put it on here. If you create, like, let's say you go under contract at 367 and then a week later you do a reduction in commissions or a reduction on the sales price because of negotiations, you have to come back here and change this, because we are not reviewing your documents later to see if anything's changed. We are only looking at the commission tab when we create a DA. Does that make sense? Does everybody understand that? Okay, you guys are quiet, it's making me nervous. So now we're gonna go to the checklist side.
I am actually, sorry, I'm still kind of stuck on the, I'm back a little bit. I was wondering if it asked for a closing officer first name.
Just, you can either give me your closer's actual information or just put NA zeros. Like, again, Skyslope tracks a lot of stuff that we don't necessarily need.
And who is our is that Tracy? Who's
No, the
closing
closer's the person at the title company that's handling your transaction.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep. So on the checklist, it shows required. The first thing to know that if it says if applicable, meaning if there was a third-party financing, it is required, I need it. So these aren't if you want to give them to me or not. This is just if they were part of the contract, I have to have them. But I don't want to make them all required and have you go, you know, wasn't part of the contract, wasn't part of the contract. So if there's amendments, I need them. If there's addendums, I need them. What that means is I need to pull them over, or had I actually had documents signed by Fred, then it would have pulled them over for me, but I don't. So you have a couple options. You can go here. Well, I wish I should have grabbed something else that had a contract. I'm trying to think if I can change it. I don't know that I can. No, let's just leave it. Okay, I'm sorry. We'll play with it. So here we have a couple options. If you created the document somewhere else in Dotloop or something, then you can email it to this address and it's going to populate over here under documents. Or let's say I just have it on my computer and I'm going to upload it. But again, if I had tied it to a transaction where documents had been signed, then it would have populated for me here, and I just didn't do that. So emblem, what I just brought over, let's go look at it because I can't remember what it was. It's the listing agreement. Well, that's not helpful. Let's pretend that's the contract. So I'm going to select it and I'm going to hit assign. And it's going to say, which of these places does this belong to? And I'm going to say it belongs to the 1 to 4 family and assign it. Once I hit assign, if you go back over to my checklist, it's now sitting there. and it's red and showing pending because Tracy or I have to review it, and we're either going to approve it or we're going to reject it because it's missing something. If we reject it, we're going to give you a note and you've got to go fix it. Any questions on any of that? If you email, again, if you email it in, it's going to list under documents and they're all going to be here and you can assign them. Let's say I'm going to upload another document. Let's say it's a big document. With lots of pages. Like let's say we have one scan of the seller's disclosure, the IABS, the buyer rep, everything. So I'm going to select it and then I want to assign it. So I'm going to hit select and assign. And then I can go in and say, oh, shoot, I just did that wrong. Don't do that. Let's try that again.
Is it split?
Yeah, but where's my split? My split isn't there.
Right next to rename on the right side.
Oh, there it is. Thank you. That's what I'm looking for. Good Lord. I'm rusty because I'm not in there. So let's say I selected it. Oh, of course I selected something. Oh yeah, there's only 6 pages. There we go. So I'm going to say page 1 is my IABS. Well, if you start, there you go. If you start typing in what it's called, then it'll find it. And then pages 2 through 10, let's say that was the seller's disclosure. And then 11 through whatever is my contract. Oh, I already have a contract there. Let's say it's the non-realty item addendum, whatever. You get the idea. So you can take a large file and split it up and assign it to wherever you need it to be on the checklist. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? All right. What else do I want to talk about on this? Just note any documents, like if oh, I know what I want to say to this. If we are reviewing documents to approve, we only see things on the document checklist. If you put stuff over here, we don't see it. So if you like think it's there, if you don't see it on the checklist, you have to go to your documents tab and assign it to something on the checklist, or we're not going to see it. And then we won't approve it. If you are getting into a hairy situation where you feel like we need to be documenting everything because it could legally become something later, make sure you start CCing or BCC every email with its email address, and then it'll throw every email in here for us, okay? Because the first thing I'm going to do legally if we have an issue is I'm going to say, send me all your emails. So if you start doing that, they'll all be there. I would, if I were you, get in the habit of making sure you use that email for everything. What I used to do is I added that email to the email page on my contact page on my contract. So I had my email on there as the agent, and then right below it, I'd add the anything 12 at Skyslope. And so that way title every email would go there, or lender every email would go there. It's just a great business practice to get in the habit of. All right. Any questions on any of that at this point?
That was great. Only question I have is on the documents that tab. I guess I'm confused as to how to make sure my forms is coming over and being added to the documents of a transaction.
So you have to pull it. Let me go grab one that has forms that I haven't created. The problem is I need one that has forms that I have not created a transaction. Oh, I got one. Okay. Well, shoot, none of them have been signed. Okay, let me try one here. Let me, you know what I'll do is I'll do it for the listing side. So again, a listing is a 2-step process. So you're going to hit create listing and send us all the listing documents. So I'm going to go, it says, again, either look up the address or go find it in your forms. So I'm going to pull one. Hopefully it's not going to yell at me because it may think it's a duplicate. It might. It's not going to ask you for the agent. It's only doing that for me. I'm making 3%, the other agent's making 3%. Sure. We don't care about the year bill. We don't care about the source. All right. And it pulled over name and email because that's what I use to get the document signed. Does everybody understand that? Follow that? And so it says, this is what I know about it. And you're going to say, yep, that's correct. And you're going to create the listing and we're going to hope this works because it's already a duplicate, but okay. So then all the documents are there. Oh, the general notice. No, it's not going to require the general notice until I make it an under contract. So let me just hang in there with me for a second. Let me get these signed. Okay. So I've moved them over here. They're here. I can accept them because I'm part of compliance. So I'm going to accept them. And now you've got greens. And now you can hit accepted contract because now we've gone under contract and we're going to create a transaction. So the thing to note on listings is that we don't know you need a DA until you do this step, until you say, I have an accepted contract and now I'm creating the transaction. We don't know there's an upcoming closing until it's a transaction. The checklist for that is going to be a listing under contract, and it's going to create a whole new checklist for me. That's where I'm going to put the general notice for sellers, the wire fraud, and all of that. Does that make sense? Courtney, did that help you?
Yes, I think so. I think the documents and the forms and then the documents in a transaction are linked, I guess. So when
They should be. Yes.
Okay, when I create a new transaction and I put the right email address and
it's
names
the
and
address. Well,
address.
it's going to say, I see forms over here. Do you want to use one of this group of forms? And you're say, yep, that one.
Got it.
Yep. All right. I'm just going to do this. Sales price 650. And again, it's going to make you fill in this other stuff. Let's save. Title, listen to dial. Email just has to have an @ and a .com, otherwise it knows you're trying to cheat. The other agent is Fred or Fed Flint. How about there? Begins or once I do this, now I should be able to submit. And my commissions are correct. Oops. So I'm going to hit submit. And now it's got the checklist here. So it's got my listing, my original listing docs tied to it. And up here is where I'm going to submit everything else required. But again, if it's applicable, meaning there was an amendment, I have to have it. So I want to make sure you guys understand that. If something got signed, I have to have it as your broker. Like that's a hard rule. So down here, we asked for a seller's disclosure to begin with. That was the initial seller's disclosure completed by your sellers originally. Up here, I'm asking for a seller's disclosure. That is the one that the buyer has now signed. So it's the same version down below, but now with the buyer's initials and signatures. And so then I'm going to upload and I can just hit attach and go get them off my computer or wherever they are. And fill in everything you need. Once these are all green, then Tracy's going to email you a DA about 2 weeks out. She'll attach it here. but she'll email it to you. The other step I need to talk about is once you've closed the transaction, your last step in Skyslope is to get us the final CD. So we need the CD signed by all parties at the end, and we need that uploaded in here in order for us to close it out in Skyslope. A lot of agents want to see their dashboard and see their income over here. We can't close it over here until you get us that final CD. I did not mean to move that, just FYI. All right. Any other questions?
Where do we get the final CD?
You get it from title.
Okay.
My question is, if you had more than one amendment, but it was just signed by one party, you still want us to upload all the?
No, I only want the executed versions of everything.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, anything that didn't get agreed upon, I don't need. So Michelle's asking, how do I split up a contract again? So I can go, let me go upload another doc. I'm going to go upload that inspection if I can remember. That's the inspection. Okay, so I'm going to upload it here. I am then, it's working on it. I'm going to select it, and over here on the right, hit split. And now I can split it into whatever I need it to be. So I would say information, this is my general info notice for the first 12 pages. And then let's just say this is miscellaneous. I can save the rest of it miscellaneous. And say all the rest of the pages are miscellaneous. And then I'm going to hit split and assign, and it's going to go throw it all to where I need it to go.
I'd assume the most common time you're using this is if you're doing the executed contract with the, oh, no, I guess the receipted page is sent separate.
So yeah, most contracts nowadays are a two-step process. So we've got receipted page down here, but let's say you upload the contract with the receipts already, then you can say see contract above, and then we can approve that. But I do have it broken out as a separate page.
Okay.
What other questions do you guys have for me? Otherwise, I will let you all be free.
I have one question, Carlin. Earlier you said that the listing is a two-step process.
Uh-huh.
Can you elaborate on that?
So that's what I just did here. I created a listing, uploaded these documents because this is the listing checklist. But then once I'm in there, I hit accepted contract. Once I go under contract, it's then going to say, congrats. When are you closing? What's the commission? Who's the title? All of that. And I hit submit, and then it created the checklist for a transaction to tell me it's closing. And that's what this checklist is. So
Okay.
I'll show you really quickly what I'm talking about. Hold on. Let me go grab a listing. So Cheryl, I'm going to go into your Vivid Sky. If you go to the checklist here, once you've given me the required docs, this button will turn gold, and that's what you click to send it to us to do the DA once you go under contract.
Okay.
Otherwise, if you just, like, what will happen is you guys will have a listing, and then you'll email me and be like, my listing's closing tomorrow. I don't have a DA. And I'll be like, well, did you ever convert it to a transaction? Because we had no idea. So until you make it a transaction, we don't know to do a DA. And again, guys, you need to get them to us as soon as possible. Technically, legally, Trex says you have 72 hours to get it to me. I'm not watching that clock and paying attention to that. But if you're a last minute person sending me stuff, we have the right to start fining you and charging you fees, late fees. So don't do that. We'll warn you a couple times, but any other questions? Was this helpful? I hope.
Yes.
Very. Thank you.
Good. Okay, you're welcome. You know, if you guys are .loop lovers, I just challenge you to try it. Force yourself to do a transaction with it. It's really not bad at all. For those of you that are brand new and just haven't had a transaction yet, hang in there. Once you do, this video will be recorded, so you can always watch it. And hopefully it'll be easy for you guys